influenced by a former president, of course. So yes, I suppose he could argue for it to do something else. I am less aware of whether he has the legal right to do that. If I had to guess, I would tell you he does not. But again, that's a guess and not something that I know.
But and I guess that's going back to the core question. Like, if there should be a line, like if we think there should be a line with regards to, and in America, like, listen, Nancy Pelosi, like, if you follow her fucking stock moves, you're gonna be very wealthy, right? Like, and that's just not her. That's almost all of them.
Yeah, right? It's everybody. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There's a Texas congressman, former Navy SEAL, who is said to, Dan Crenshaw, who's said to be quoted to say, well, if you have the insider trade, how the hell am I supposed to make any money? Which was his view. But to get back to your point, is I understand that there are ethics guidelines. There are actual laws on gift giving of what, say, the Secretary of State can accept, or what the president can accept, or like what it has to turn down. Like, as an example that was given to me, Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, was given a pair of Mongolian horses. She was not able, upon her leaving office, to keep those Mongolian horses as cabinet secretary, because she didn't have have a library to herself, basically, as I understand it. So there are ethical guidelines. I'm not under the impression that giving to the government is unpoliced in the same way as giving preferential treatment to Supreme Court justices, for example. I think in the Supreme Court justice example, there aren't any actual guidelines there. There could have been, but there was decided years and years and years ago that there wouldn't be. Versus this, where there are guidelines, and maybe one of the things, Jeremy, is that there needs to be a clarifying court conversation. Hey, maybe I have to look for some of these laws, but maybe some of them are rather vague, and they need the courts to go, no. You can accept this, but you totally can't accept that. And that's my intuition speaking. That's not, like I said, having looked at the actual law.
Well, when you look at like the current kind of Middle East roadshow, right, and all of it was pay to play. Like every single one of those countries ponied up and invested. Like I think there was a $5.5 billion deal with Trump golf course real estate with I can't remember if it was Saudi Arabia or UAE, where it was for the rights to bring PGA to UAE or something. It was worth $5.5 billion, and it was with the Trump Corporation. It was signed with the company that is 100% owned by the Qatar sovereign wealth fund, right? And there's examples for every single country that he's going to, right? And these are countries where he's going and saying, hey, Saudi Arabia, listen, I know remove sanctions for Syria, and so the things I do for this guy, right? So we're going to remove all the sanctions. Right?
Yeah, so I was just in a room when they were talking about that very thing. And the person who was giving the critique was pointing out that is just a bad way to do business, right? Oh, our Arab friends told us to do it? All right, we'll totally do it. Like, that just doesn't seem to be a good pattern.
And totally do it, but also like, hey, Saudi just, put a couple $1 billion into my, the business that my sons run for crypto. You know what I mean? Like it's literally just being like.
You know what one should do? If you have to find financing for it, but sue under the emoluments clause for the second time, and see if you can get it hiked up the ladder. Obviously, the answer is probably no to get hiked up the ladder, but it would be a good idea to sue over emoluments again.
But do you think that going forward, any president will be held responsible, criminally responsible for anything that they do based on the Supreme Court ruling around, you're effectively immune as long as you do it?
You may think this is going to sound unbearably naive. I will tell you, I don't think that it does. But as I understand it, they gave him immunity for actions while in office, actions that would impact him personally, like his bank account, would not be officially protected acts. In fact, they very well might violate the Emoluments Clause to the Constitution. I guess what I mean when I say all of this is, like, I think I have a slightly more optimistic view about it than you do. I can't exactly tell you why I have a more optimistic view. I just kind of do.
No, I probably because you have more shit in the game, right? Like you actually live there, right? And so you should have optimism, right? But I think for me, and maybe where I slightly disagree is that, listen, if it was just purely for his benefit and it had nothing to do with like America or the benefit of America. But I don't think there's many examples of that. What I see a lot of it is like him going and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to tweak, global politics because it's for the betterment of politics." And yeah, sure, I got some shit, but I was acting essentially benefiting from government as a corrupt president in the same way that maybe I think it might have been Warren G. Harding that was that way. So let me ask you this: do you think it's a win? Like, do you think the China thing? Or sorry, let me back that up. How are you feeling in general about the tariff actions?
I don't like it. I think it's a tax on Americans. I think it's kind of as a political thing, it's a bait and switch. Don't get me wrong, politicians mislead all the time. But the sale to people was not, I'm going to make things more expensive. And I say this because as you know, work at political campaigning, and I knocked this last presidential election about 6,000 doors, talked about 1,300 or 1,500 people, I can't remember which. And the vast majority of them, I live along the border, so the border was high. The vast majority of people chose the economy, right? And to me, that just feels like a really big bait and switch. No, this motherfucker did not say, I'll make this more expensive, and then maybe they'll get cheaper later, right? Also, once prices are raised, both of us know the prices rarely ever go back down. So I'm uncomfortable with that. I got a brother, as you know, who works in Congress, and he says a couple of things. One, the tariffs are done by somebody who is economically illiterate, and number two, that he spent a large portion of the last 10 years he was on Capitol Hill working with the economy, and that the kind of things that were being done with the economy were just boneheaded as all get out. I don't think, to be more specific, that the British trade deal nor the Chinese trade deal over the long term is going to be healthy. Now, I do know that we have 10% imposition of tariffs into their country on the short-term thing, and we're allowed to tariff 30% of their imports. So for the quote clause, that's what they've done. But no, I'm generally not a fan of it. I'm not, as you know,
of course you're not a fan of it, Marshall. You're not a fan of anything Trump does. You hate Trump. He's bad for the economy.
I'm saying I hated the president. That's all I said. I said I didn't think he was doing the right thing. As far as whether I hate the man or not.
You do realize it's Congress and the Federal Reserve that causes price increases, correct? You do realize that, right? It's called inflation.
Well, that used to be how it was, right?
Used to be.
When he all of a sudden said, "Hey, I'm going to use executive orders to decide how tariffs are going to be applied," he all of a sudden took control of inflation, right? You have to admit that, right?
You can't take control of inflation, you schmuck. It's Congress that passes trillion-dollar acts that the Federal Reserve prints off and gives them the money. I have a video of Chairman Powell saying we don't ask for advice and we don't give advice, but we will give you the money if you tell us to give you the money.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, and that it's a tax on every American. But what happened now, right, and what Marshall said was true and interesting, right? Imagine you want steel, and you've got this country that sells it to you cheap at $10 a bushel, whatever, right? And you can buy it locally for $12 a bushel. You can buy it from this country next door for $10 a bushel, or you can get it from overseas at $14 a bushel, right? And you're like, hey, I want my $12 a bushel steel guys locally to sell more of their shit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tariff on all these others and say, hey, that $10 a bushel steel country next door, if you buy it from them, it's going to cost $15. I'm going to put a $5 tariff on that shit. Guess what happens? Do you think that you can still buy local steel at $12? No, you're going to have to pay $14.
Oh my God! Thanks for that incredible little paragraph essay question on a test that a child could easily answer in a multiple choice format. No, I'm just sick of you guys. You guys are wasting your time doing this. I'm here to fucking roast you. I'm sorry, but you guys waste your time, and you'll continue wasting your time unless somebody steps up and says you guys are wasting your time.
What you do best is start one of your rooms in Republican comedy. Then you can talk about us without ever wondering or worrying that we'll interrupt you or have anything to say at all.
Oh, believe me, I have no problem letting go of you at any moment. I keep from the room at any time. I could give two shits.
Man. She gotta get out her feelings. You gotta let her get out her feelings.
Hi, AJ. Hi, babe.
She can have emotions. She'll be alright.
Anybody? Tiara? Anybody?
But she have a wake up call.
You're never gonna have published nothing.
Look, she losing.
You're a loser. You're sitting out here big enough to think that I've been talking shit about you for months. Shut up.
She going crazy. Look at her.
Goof. You are a goof.
Yo, Adrian.
Anyway, let's let this mama be.
In a private
my monkey don't want nobody to say.
My monkey out.
And then she told me to merch it on my kids. I ain't doing a private world.
You gotta go.
Big ass mama. Sorry ass mama like that.
You talking?
Sorry ass mama is loud.
Who, me?
No, Tiara.
Oh, Tiara, you saying something?
She on mute, but she not saying shit.
Yeah, let my monkey stop.
My bad. You heard what I said?
We don't like these.
Hold on.
Alright. I did not. Yeah, that was the same company that made cocaine and cocaine and oxycodone. Yeah, oxycodone and ecstasy.
What they put in He did this because again, it was part of the criminal syndicate. Why do you think they didn't want General Flynn to head up the NSA? Why did they stop it? Because once again, he would have told the world what was really going on, and he probably would have shut this down, reporting to the president saying, we're handing over all our to the FBI. Remember, we're taking all of this back. Yes, we have the heads of the FBI, the DOJ, the DNI, the CIA, soon the NSA. We have all these people in place, but again, they have to basically remove the deep state players within all these different agencies, which I do believe is happening right now. And you can see the deep state players, they are panicking. And the truth now is coming out about almost everything. And it's just going to get worse and worse for the deep state players. Now, all of a sudden, Jake Tapper, of course he has a book, and others, they're saying, wow, the White House lied to us about Biden's health. Really? They didn't see any type of problem. Julie Kelly says, I cannot believe this is real. After the election, we found out all these things that the American people saw with their own eyes. A cover-up bigger than Hunter Biden laptop with more dangerous consequences. So you're trying to tell me these reporters, investigative reporters that like to investigate things, they didn't take it to the next step. And they didn't say, you know something, let's really investigate. Let's see if there really is something wrong with Biden. Instead, they decided to get the information from the intelligence clowns, and they decided to defend Biden every step of the way because that's what they were instructed to do. They were instructed to cover it all up. And now, as everyone can see that there's problems with him, now they're out there trying to say, wow, I am totally shocked. No, they knowingly covered it up. Mays put this out and said, Jake Tapper wrote a book about the cover-up of Biden's decline, as if he played no role in it at all. It's quite amazing. Tapper smeared and attacked people who brought it up, and each time they said Biden is declining, he would attack them. So he's full of it, just like everyone else. And once again, think about all those individuals in the White House. All those individuals in the White House, they also covered up. They knowingly covered up what was going on with Biden. Joe Biden's physical deterioration was so severe that advisors privately discussed the possibility he needed to use a wheelchair if he won re-election. Abigail Jackson said Biden's aides mapped out walking routes, so Biden had to take a few steps as possible. When we suggested such a thing, based on very obvious videos, Dems and the media mocked us and acted like it was absurd to even suggest this isn't just about Biden. This is about the cover-up. That's exactly what this is. It's a cover-up. The cover-up always gets you. Jesse Kelly says the media covered up Joe Biden's decline, and because of that, we had communist savages around Biden's putting this country to the torch for 4 years. Do not now accept a plea deal from them that they were fooled or lied to, because that's exactly what that is, a plea deal. And that's absolutely true. And think about it. If Biden wasn't doing anything, who was? Oh, it was the system that was running itself. It never really needed Biden. Actually, with Biden out of the way, the system showed the people who they truly are and actually forced the exposure of the system to the people. That's what we saw for 4 years. That's what we're seeing right now. During the 4 years of the resident, you saw what the system really wanted to do to America. Destroy it. Now, the system, the same system, what you're seeing how they're trying to defend themselves from what Trump is doing right now, which is taking the power back from the system and returning it to the executive branches, which is actually returning it to we the people. That is what you're witnessing right now. And what's very interesting is we know that the system is directed and controlled by those people that are not elected. And who would that be? Well, one of them is George Soros. And what's very interesting is that Data Republican found something out that's very, very interesting. Why is George Soros funding the International Republican Institute? Turns out George Soros gave $1.7 million to the IRI and $1.5 million to the NDI, two DC-based democracy promotion fronts tied to the State Department and both subsidiaries of NED. Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, Joni Ernst, and Dan Sullivan all actively sit on the IRI board. These groups were created to run on U.S. taxpayer money. Why are either IRI or NDI taking this money? He's buying influence over both parties, and the GOP is letting him in the front door. Hey, Senator GOP, why are you letting Soros fund your foreign ops machine? Think about it for a second. So once again, why is Soros allowed to do this? Why are they taking his money? Because all of these individuals, they are corrupt. They are rhinos. They've been corrupt for a very, very long time. Data Republican continues. In 22 CFR 67.4, it says NED has a special responsibility to operate openly. Ed Martin, shouldn't it be disclosed that NED, IRI, NDI has taken money from a far-left regime change foundation? On their website, it says NED raises limited private contributions from foundations, non-grant-related activity, but the description of the grant themselves seems to be very much grant-related activity. NED claims to be committed to financial transparency, but I would bet anything that Mike Lee has never been briefed that the IRI accepts Soros money. And once again, you can see how this system operates. It's very, very deep. It's very, very wide. They're entrenched. But as time goes on, and Trump continually forces the exposure of the pharmaceutical company, forces the exposure of the NGOs, forces the exposure of the agencies, forces the exposure of all these different law firms, you're going to see certain individuals, they're going to break free of the role that they're playing, and they're going to show you who they truly are. Because once Trump and the Patriots hit a chord, what do you think those individuals that control these people do? They evade them. And it happens every single time, Eric Doherty put this out and said, Senator Majority Leader John Thune signals possible opposition to codifying President Trump's executive order into law lowering drug prices to match those from other developed nations. He says it would be fairly controversial. Catcherd responds and says, just like Democrats, Republicans are owned by Big Pharma. I can't stand these POS traders. Absolutely. And that's exactly what you're seeing. These individuals, they are controlled by the system. Now, they might stay sleeping, they might play a role, but eventually what happens when Trump hits a chord, these people are activated because now the pharmaceutical company says, whoa, we can't allow this to happen. I'm going to call my senators here because once again, yeah, you've been sleeping, you've been playing the role, but now we need you to do something. And you're going to see this over and over and over. And that's how we basically bring these people out from the ship.
Yes, Dave is describing this accurately, right? As more pressure is applied to the deep state system, right, by the new Trump administration, they are going to call upon their acolytes that serve them. So just as how we've been seeing all of these, judges crawl out of the woodwork, you're going to see so much activity. You're going to be like, wait, what? This guy is batting for the deep state? This guy too? Yeah. Because they're being tapped, right? Some of these people have been sleeping, but when the deep state wants them to do something, remember how they operate. From their people who they're arranging their kickbacks for, and they're saying, we own you, right? That's why you're seeing them step out and oppose things like reducing drug prices. Oh my God. Well, he's not going to get reelected. Midterms are coming up.
We own you. We rattle your chains. We own you. We own.
Well, for all of those acolytes out there that the deep state has some leverage on, that they're tapping right now, the people are watching. The people are paying attention. So do your thing. We all know where this ends up. Enjoy the show.
Hey, you've been sleeping, you've been playing the role, but now we need you to do something. And you're going to see this over and over and over. And that's how we basically bring these people out from the shadows and bring them into the light. The people must see it. Yes, you can say, hey, look, they took a lot of donations from pharmaceutical companies, but you really need to see how they will protect those industries, how they'll protect the entire system. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, it looks like the D's, they're all up in arms because Trump is going to be accepting a B-747. We have Schumer out there saying, hey, we're not going to basically even look at the nominations from Trump unless we investigate the plane that Trump is going to receive as a gift. Actually, Trump is not receiving that plane as a gift. Actually, it's going to the DOD. It's going to the United States of America. And it's not just Trump that's going to be using it. It's going to be any president that comes into office. He'll have access to the plane. So Trump is not receiving. So once again, you could see that the deep state players, they're trying to push an agenda, but it's not going to work. Buzz Patterson explains, I'm going to try one last time. The Qatar B-747 was built in the U.S. by Boeing. They're offering a newer 747 to replace one of the two current Air Force Ones that have been flying for 40 years, which are tired and need to be replaced. The wing base at Andrews has also purchased aircraft from other countries in the past, which are currently flying our VP and senior government officials. This is not new. Qatar is offering the jet to the U.S. military, not Donald Trump. The DOD contractor is based in the U.S. In fact, my dad, retired Air Force general, used to work for them. They are, not unironically, also working to upgrade the FAA technology as we speak, Newark and elsewhere. They will get the aircraft and perform all of the security and the installation of the system that the Air Force One requires to safely move our president around the world, not the Qataris. And you and I will pay for that, but not the $400 million the 747 would normally cost. I could tell you exactly what is required to modify the AF-1 for safe flight, but that is top secret and I'd have to kill you. The AF-1 will serve the sitting president, whether they be Republican or Democrat, until Boeing gets their shit together to complete the new upcoming improved 747s that started under Obama, was renegotiated under Trump, and was completely ignored by the Biden administration. It's looking like 2029 to 2030 for delivery at the soonest. I love X, but sometimes the sky is falling conspiracy crap grows tiresome. A little knowledge goes a long way. Having flown on the current AF-1s 100 times, I have intimate knowledge. Come at me about chemtrails. So right there, yes, Trump, he's going to be receiving a new 747. Most likely, they're going to strip it all down. They're going to prepare it for the president. They're going to look for bugs. They're going to look for certain things in the circuitry. They might replace a lot of the different circuits and computer systems and things like that. But again, you remember, Boeing built it, so they know the in and out of the plane. And I do believe they will make it very, very secure. But again, the question is, why is Air Force One being brought into the fold? And I do believe we might see something strange happen. So this is something that we need to look at. Now, Trump, he has now visiting the Middle East. His first stop is Saudi Arabia. And you could see the big difference between Trump's first time, Biden, and Trump now. C3 put this out. Look at this welcome ceremony for President Trump in Saudi Arabia. Now remember, the Saudi crown prince did not meet Biden at the airport. He made Biden come to him to meet. America is back. Shadow of Ezra says, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman broke protocol by personally greeting Trump on the tarmac, rather than sending a lower-ranking royal as is customary. President Trump received a horse escort as his motorcade arrived at the Saudi royal court. The visit is expected to result in agreements that could bring billions of dollars in investment to the United States. Executives from BlackRock, Palantir, Blackstone, Citigroup, Qualcomm, and IBM are also in attendance for a major investment summit. And when you look at the pictures in Trump with Sun and Truth, you can see the stairs are now purple. The carpet is purple. The first time Trump went there, it was red. Trump is wearing a purple, which is very, very interesting. And Trump, he put this post out at 5:01. And when you look at post 5:01, down at the bottom, it says Sky Fortress engaged. Now that's interesting because Trump is going to accept this new 747 from Qatar. Let's see how this plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. But Digital Swalder put this out on X and explains what we're seeing. The king just touched down in Saudi Arabia. Purple tie, purple stairs, purple carpet. This isn't just a photo op. This is a command signal. The Saudis roll out the royal treatment for a commander-in-chief. Purple isn't just the color of royalty. Purple is the color of supreme authority, dominion, control, power. For those in Rio, Linda, Trump didn't just walk down those stairs. Trump descended like a king returning to the battlefield. This is a global power move. The optics here are undeniable. I don't care who you are. This is a reset. This is a realignment. This is sovereignty in action. Every handshake, every step, every frame of this moment is a signal to the world that the old guard is finished. The alliances are shifting. The balance of power is being redefined. Shelva85 says, they capitulated in 2017. He who holds the sword rules the kingdom. They gave him the sword. Purple carpeting this time. In 2017, it was red. Green Lives Matter says, Trump is calling out the neocons in Saudi Arabia and declaring that a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of war in the Middle East, while claiming that the old guard of America interventionist has failed and has been proven a disaster. He's letting the deep state players know all around the world are no longer in charge. The old guard is over. Trump, the Patriots, are now in control. And this reminds me of a couple of posts. The first one is 2461, November 9, 2018. Down below it says, you are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Forced exposure, standard deviation, broken long ago. The deep state players, they're feeling pain. 3961, April 14, 2020. Trump He tweeted this out going back in time, and it was Dan Scavino that he retweeted. It was Trump playing the violin, and it says, my next piece is called Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. Down below it says, you're witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Post 3331, May 2nd. It says, you're witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. May is start offensive. Enjoy the show. Everything is about to change. Trump now has the power. All he needs now is the people to primary and vote the D's out, remove the rhinos, and bring in the patriots. Now, before that time, I do believe what Trump is going to do, he's going to remove all the illegals, which means the number of seats in Congress are going to change. The D's will not be able to install anyone. And once this happens, because he just gave the Supreme Court an ultimatum, either you do it or I do it. I do believe no matter which way you look at it, Trump, we the people, are going to win. Remember, sometimes the military is the only way, because I do believe once Trump does this, he might get assistance from the military to help remove all of these people. And you have to remember, Abraham Lincoln, he went ahead and he did this. He actually suspended the writ of habeas corpus. So once again, you could see that Trump and the Patriots, they have all the power. They're in control. The old guard is dead. Checkmate. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.
All right, truth seekers. Very interesting report tonight here in the Tavern Lounge. Thank you, Dave. Wow. Yeah, so things are going to be very interesting as we watch the developments over in the Middle Eastern region. And yeah, guys, what do you think about tonight's report? I'm going to drop the mic. The floor is open. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Welcome to the Truth Seekers Tavern Lounge.
Did you guys catch that homage to Rush Limbaugh when he said, those of you who live in Rio Linda? Because Rush used to make fun of people who lived in Rio Linda because they didn't get it. So I don't know if you guys caught him saying, for those of you in Rio Linda. Oh, it was so sweet. I really miss Rush. What he would be saying right now, whoa, it would be amazing.
What is Rio Linda? Because I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I
he
used
just
to live in Rio Linda.
Yeah, he just made fun of, it was just a put down. Like people in Rio Linda don't get it. So for those of you in Rio Linda, I'll explain. He was just.
Oh, Rio Linda is a fictitious.
No, it's a town in California.
It's just above Sacramento, where Rush was. And the people didn't drive very well in Rio Linda.
Without the islands.
Yeah, Rush got me with the feminazis. I lived in Sacramento when he started out, and I was so against conservatives. I just couldn't stand them, and I started listening to Rush. And the light turned on pretty brightly. He was bright and funny, and didn't care if anybody didn't like what he was saying.
On Rush.
Well, it was AM radio, and up in a liberal home. My goodness, we were ethical, and the Republicans were warmongers. Remember, I'm old. We were, this is in the 60s, for God's sakes, and 70s. So, and Rush, I think that was about the 80s. Oh, you poor thing. But yeah, well, it was the civil rights movement. That was allegedly a liberal thing, right?
My parents said they skipped that part. They're at the tail end of the baby boomers. They said they skipped off.
Yeah, well, no. Oh my goodness. The dirty word was John Birch, who said that was a dirty word in our house. And I don't know, I met some people in Hawaii, and they turned me on. It still exists, the John Birch Society, and I'm reading their literature and going, oh my God, I missed all this. They make so much sense. It was lovely to actually read what John Birch said instead of listening to how much my parents hated the guy. So yeah, they were evil. Conservatives were evil. Yep. But Rush set me straight. That crazy guy. Anyway.
I know Grace just quoted the king had landed in Saudi Arabia. And that reference drives the libs absolutely insane. I love the whole purple carpet thing and the purple tie.
Isn't that a royal color, purple?
Yep.
Well, let me do a quick refresh here. We have new speakers joining us on the stage. Welcome to the Tavern, guys. We have John joining us. Welcome, John. We have Dr. Lori joining us as well. Welcome to the Tavern, guys. It is after midnight. It's 12:47 a.m. here in Kingston, Jamaica. We just finished listening to the X22 Geopolitical Report. I want to thank Karine and Dr. Angelo for sharing. Let's see where the conversation goes. Strap yourselves in, guys.
Doctor, give me the news. Hello.
Oh, wait, before I drop the mic, remember to check out the news thread over on X. Thank you so much for the reminder, Dr. Angelo. It's pinned at the top of the room. Head over there to X for those of you who use the X app, like and repost. And for those of you who are using an iPhone, I will drop the news thread in the chat for ease of convenience. Thank you so much. It's too quiet in here.
Hi, this is Grace. I have a question about Bill Gates. I heard that he was trying to acquire 3 Mile Island for energy, for AI. Does that sound like anything anybody's heard? Knowing Bill Gates, he would acquire 3 Mile Island in order to blow it up and blame, whatever. Yeah.
3 Mile Island just, had meltdowns. My uncle lived really close by and died of stomach cancer after the, it's a long time.